So you want to catch your first catfish. You may well have actually caught one accidentally whilst carp fishing or targeting other species, but you want to come back and set the traps and hopefully catch a few more. I'm going to keep things very, very basic in this video. I'm going to run through the tackle that you need, of which you've probably got most of this. Bait, or my favourite bait if I can get away with using it. Venue choice, coming to a venue that's got, well stocked with quite a few small cats. Don't kind of like try and catch a massive cat straight away. Get some kind of action and experience playing and handling them, and also the conditions that you need to target cats to get the best results and the time of day you need to fish for them. So let's just run through the tackle that you need to go out and target catfish and have confidence in landing those once you hook them. Now, as I said earlier, you'll have most of the kit, but carp rods nowadays, you're not going to get anything less than £3, £3.5 test curve rods. These are okay if you're targeting fish up to like mid-30s, I would say. If you're going to go bigger and you've got the chance of hooking a 70, 80, even a 100 pounder, you're going to have to beef this up seriously, big time. Bigger reels, bigger rods, everything needs to be more powerful. But at the moment, I'm here, I've got a £3 test curve rod. I can land anything I hook in here. I've got an 8000 Shimano reel there, and this is where you won't have the adequate kit, because I've loaded this up with 65-pound braid. Great for instant bite recognition and just powerful to land anything in here. If you don't like braid and you want to spool up with mono, 18-pound mono, nothing less than that. Anything less than that and you're going to be in trouble. So, £3.5 test curve rod, 18-pound mono or 65-pound or even bigger braid is easy, powerful enough to land anything that swims in this lake. Now I'm just going to move on. Big landing net. This isn't the biggest, but as I said, I'm not fishing for the biggest cats. If you're gonna fish a venue that's got bigger than 35-pound catfish in, then you're gonna have to get a bigger landing net and a bigger unhooking mat. This is a standard big carp padded mat, easy adequate for a 30-pound catfish. But as I said, if you're going to catch bigger ones, you need to double up on those mats, or go for a specifically designed mat for a catfish. I've got a retaining sling here, and what I try to do when I actually land a cat is to unhook that cat in the net. So I've got some forceps, take the hook out, and then transport the cat in the net onto the mat, get the cat onto the retaining sling, and then get the landing net out the way. You can then photograph, weigh the fish in the retaining sling, and then safely transport that fish back to the water. As I said, unhooking fish, forceps, you really, really need those. And another important piece of kit is a towel. These things are slimy. When you pick them up, they poo all over you. So make sure you've got a towel just to wipe yourself down afterwards. Or some people will just put on lightweight waterproofs, which is a good idea. Now, if you are looking at going out and targeting cats, now my advice, if you're lacking a bit of confidence, is to hire a guide. I do fishing guiding sessions, and I can bring you out catfishing. You can spend an afternoon, evening with me. We can fish into darkness, and I will show you and tell you everything you need, running through your tackle, your bait, your handling of fish, the playing of fish, etc., etc. That will give you the confidence to come out and do it alone. So yeah, maybe if you're lacking a bit of confidence, then a good advice is to go out with a guide like myself, and at least get that confidence you need. Right, let's just talk about the time of day that's best to come and catch catfish. Now, I'm the sort of angler that likes to pick my time, be at the best time and catch as many fish as I can in the short space of time that I have available. And most of my, or all my catfishing is done at dusk and into darkness. That is when cats come alive. They're a bit like owls. You hear them hooting after dark, but you hardly ever see them in the daytime. Cats are the same. They're nocturnal. They become more active after dark, and that is when you're going to catch more fish. Saying that, they do come out during the day. I saw an angler on the big lake when I got here this morning about 8 o'clock. He was just putting back a small kitten. So they do come out in the daytime. If you do have the luxury of fishing all day, then pick overcast, stormy conditions, you know, muggy, stormy conditions are best. Low pressure and, you know, rain, that's when you need to come here, not on bright days. Cloud covers come over now, so I've got half a chance, but I'm only here this morning just to talk about rigs, tackle, etc, etc. So I will be back and fishing a few evenings and into darkness, and but hopefully one of those evenings I will be able to get you an action shot and show you a cat during the daytime. Well, my number one bait for catfish has to be lobworms. In the spring, they're absolutely fantastic. In the summer, you can be, you know, it can be a bit problematic because other species like tench and bream and roach will be picking at them and perch, and you can quite often find your hooks are actually just been nibbled and that your worms are gone. There are ways to overcome that, but yeah, lobworms for me are my go-to, you know, hook bait for catfish. Now, there's different ways to obtain them. Obviously, you can go to your local tackle shop and buy them. That's quite an expensive way. You can go out on a hot, dark summer's evening after dark and go to your park or a football pitch, or I go to a golf driving range and I crawl about on all fours with a head torch, very dim, and worms come out in the evening or after dark to mate. And what they do is they come out their cast, they leave their towels actually in the actual holes in most cases, and when they come out you can just creep up very quietly, grab them. It's a bit of a tug and war to get them out because they leave their towels in the hole and they go into like a diamond shape, but you know, just gently pull them. Those worms come out. On a good night, you know, you could get 200 lobworms in an hour. I can do. One word of warning though, if you're pulling one out and it breaks, do not put it in with your other worms, it will kill them. And the other way, in the summer when it's not as easy because the ground's a lot harder, and obviously going out after dark it's quite late, I just go online and I went to Willy Worms. First time I've actually gone to them, and I bought 100 lobworms for, I think it was about 20 quid, delivered to your door, and these are proper really big juicy lobworms. So different ways. In the spring I've got a vegetable patch as well, so obviously when I'm digging my vegetable patch April, May, I can pick up lots of lobworms there, but again, once it gets high summer, digging worms in your garden can get really difficult. So lobworms are my number one go-to bait. They can be as cheap as you want to make them, they can be as expensive as you want to make them, but a fantastic bait because you've got all that blood, all those juices, but more importantly you've got that movement of them wriggling. So that's what a catfish will pick up on through the water. It will sense that movement, it'll home in, and worms on its day, well, in most days, in my mind, will outfish a pellet and a boilie. So if you can get away with it and you can keep your lobworms in there without them being pecked off your hair, then take my advice, get on the worms. 4 or 5 on a hair. If you've seen my videos on tench fishing, the worm kebab, it's exactly the same. It's just a lob kebab, and it's just all scaled up, bigger hook link, etc, etc. So get on the worms. You can't just cast them out, go to sleep on your bed chair, because you won't have any worms in the morning. So it's not a lazy way of fishing. I will wind in my rods every hour, check my worms, put some new ones on if needed, and get it back out. So it's an active way of fishing, and it's ideal if you're like me tonight. I'm just coming out. I've started fishing at just after 6, and I'll probably be packing up about 10 o'clock. So every hour, wind them in, cast them out and just rely on that movement and that juices, because I just break the tails off my worm to get those cat homing on your hook bait. Okay, when you're picking a swim, look around you. Don't just go in a swim and think, oh, look at that, there's a nice overhanging tree with branches in the water, there's an island out there, or some lily pads, because catfish, when you hook them, doesn't matter how big they are, they will rip around the swim, and they will go through lily pads, they will go through branches, you know, and snags up the margins. So ideally I try and pick a swim away from too many snags. And also, if I've got other anglers, keep away from anglers, because the last thing you want to do is be hooking, you know, a 20-30 pound catfish, it tearing up the bank, and you picked a swim next to a carper and taking his, you know, taking his lines out. He's not going to be very happy. So I like to aim for swims of open water, away from snags, away from other anglers. So when I actually hook one of those fish, I've got the luxury of just enjoying it, letting it do what it wants, and then just, you know, putting the pressure on and guiding her to the landing net. So yeah, swim choice is very, very important. Okay, let's just move on to the rig I use. Now, as I mentioned here, I've got 65 pound braid, and I've got a 2.5 ounce inline lead fished semi-bolt style. Now the reason I use a semi-fixed lead is I find when I'm using a running lead with worms, I get a lot of aborted takes. The alarm will scream for a few seconds and then stop as a cat gets away with it. So what I found is by using a semi-fixed bolt rig, the hook link will tighten as a cat turns, and if the hook link is coming out the mouth, 9 times out of 10 it just pulls in and the hook just buries into the corner of the mouth. So I much prefer a semi-fixed bolt rig. The hook link here I've got is a 30 pound braid. If you're going for bigger fish, you're going to have to get a bigger, stronger braid. It's an abrasion resistant braid. It's about 20 inches long, and I've got a big hook. I've got a size 2, again, bigger cat, bigger hooks. But here, up to 30 pound, I'm quite happy with a size 2 barbless hook. I've got a tiny little bead there because I'm using worms. If I haven't got that, then the worms tend to fall back and can get caught and tangled on the main line. So a small bead there. Super sharp hook. I sharpen these and make sure they're sharpened by using a little Gardner hook sharpener, a little block. Absolutely everybody should have one of those. They're a brilliant piece of kit. And if I can get away with it, I use 2 pieces of buoyant corn on the hair. I've got a hair about in between those 2 buoyant bits of corn is about 1 inch long, and I can get about 4 lob worms cut in half, or 5 whole ones on that hair dangling between the 2 pieces of corn. And that's how I would normally fish if I can get away with it. This morning I've cast out, and the small fish, because it's daytime, the small fish are just nibbling those worms away, the bream, maybe tench. So what I then do is I will just get a drill pellet. This is a 21mm halibut pellet. I will put that on the hair, then put 2 or 3 half pieces of worm on the end, a piece of corn just to lock it on there. So you've also, you know, you always know you've got a bait fishing, even if the small fish tend to whittle away that worm. But those worm on the end of your pellet or boilie give it the movement, and catfish are very, very good at homing in on the slightest of movement in the lake. So yeah, if you can't get away with worm on the hair or the lob kebab, then fish a boilie or a pellet and then add some worms to that. Well, I've been playing this fish about, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes now. The rod's only been out, I don't know, 20 minutes, big bunch of worms, trapped by a couple of pieces of corn on the bottom, bolt rig, 2 bleeps. I thought, is that a small fish eating and pecking those worms? And then looked at the rod, the tip's round, and then it ripped off. So as I say, you've got to have some serious tackle to land these, and these aren't even big fish. I think the biggest in this lake that I know of is about 35 pound. This feels a good fish. There's a lot of fish in the high teens, low 20s here. So I didn't have any fish. I only fished probably 2.5 hours the other morning just to get all the content for the video. But I've come back this evening, 2 days later. I'm fishing the swim to the left. I bought the other reels today. They're sort of medium big pit, the old GT 7000 Biomasters. A bit lumpy, the clutches nowadays, need a good service. I've got 18-pound mono on here, lob worms, semi-fixed bolt in between 2 bits of corn on the bottom. As I say, it doesn't take long if you get your conditions right. I find evenings a lot better than the mornings, but obviously during the night is better than any daylight. It is quite stormy tonight, a little bit fresher. We've got a nice southwesterly, and as you can see, it takes a bit of time to get these in. Whoa, come on you. I just realised, oh, she's in close now. Got to put the old rod butt in your groin. Not really good in my case because I've got a blooming hernia in my groin that I was told the other day from a doctor that they don't do it, and then I went out with some friends and he said, oh no they do, you just got to get referred. Here she comes, she ain't far away now. Oh, sorry, will cut me some slack, this thing is pulling back a bit. And I managed to get the other rod out quite quickly whilst playing this, because they're not the easiest things to that is a proper lump of a cat. In she goes, that's a proper one, especially for this lake. And there we are, the worms are hanging from its mouth, hooks in the scissors where it should be. Okay, as I said earlier, I like to try and unhook them in the net, get the rod out of the way. When this one went in the net, I could see the worms hanging from the side of the mouth, the hook just there, and that's it. One piece of worm left, a couple of bits of corn. Okay, well you saw me unhook her in the net. I didn't need forceps there because I could see right in the scissors the worm. I mean, this is quite a good fish for here. I would say she's over 20 pound. She's biting the landing net at the moment with those teeth. What a fight that was. I'll do some close-up and show you the close-up of her in a minute and we'll get away, but with the fish in the net unhooked, I was able to get all my unhooking stuff all prepared. Scales are there, all the mat wetted down. We'll just lift her up and hopefully she won't slap me about. She'll probably poo on me, but oh yeah, she's, calm down baby. Quite difficult to pick up they are. They know when you're picking them up. Come on. You can put your hand right underneath and almost, well, she's still got some fight in her. Put your hand round the fin there. Quick picture there. She's over 20 pound, probably a scraper 20. We'll weigh her any minute. What a fish. Not the prettiest, but you've got to admire them for their fighting abilities. Thank you darling for coming along in the daytime. Okay, so now she's out the landing net, she's in the sling. I can then just zip it up. Be really careful because at the front end she's got her whiskers, and those whiskers are what she needs to find her food. Very, very sensitive, so pay attention to the front end. The towel can go in, zip it up, and then I can weigh her. You're not going to see me when I stand up, but I'll tell you the weight in a second. That fish goes 28, just over 28 pound with the sling. The sling, that fish goes just over 28 pound. The sling is exactly 3 pound. So we got a mid 20 there, 25 pounder. So she's in the sling, safe and sound. As I said, when you're zipping the sling up, be really careful on the front end, because her whiskers, you know, they're sort of 10 inches long they are, and that is what she finds her food out with. So if you cut one of those off, it's going to be like someone cutting your finger off. It's going to be very, very painful, and it's going to stop her from feeding in the future, or reduce her chances of finding a fish or a bait effectively in the future. I'm going to put her back, and then I'm going to just come up and show you a little bit of the finer points, like how big her eye is, or let's say how small it is, the front end, the mouth, and some other bits. Right, let's just look at the finer details of this cat. If you look at the mouth, you can see inside the mouth the pads. They're crushing pads. They're like loads and loads of teeth, all going backwards. So when a fish goes in there, it ain't coming in. Big mouth, so you don't have to worry about sort of small hooks in there or small baits. And I don't know if you can see down her throat some big crushing pads. And then just look at these whiskers. I mean, what are they? 10, 12 inches or 10 inches long. And that's all her sensors in there. And she's got some others down here, some smaller ones. And that's what she picks all her movement in the water out. But then look at this tiny little eye. Can you see her little eye here? Down here. There it is. And that shows that she's not a sight feeder. She can pick up and chase fish and turn, you know, 180 degrees if she wants, and chase a little fish and know where it is exactly. So tiny little eyes, that's why they're nocturnal. They feed at night because they don't really need their sight. They rely on these big things. And then look at this dorsal fin. That is it. Tiny little dorsal fin. Almost, what's the point of having it? And you can see all the camo there, where she lays on the bottom, all the speckled, the white belly. It's all, you know, camouflaged because she's a predator. And then this is where the power is, in this towel. Tiny little towel there, fins all the way on the bottom side, and that is the power. Unbelievable beast, really. Big old fins up here, but real, you know, one hell of a predator. Well, I am so happy with that mid-20, 25 pounder in the daytime, caught by design using the lobworms. Brilliant tactic, fantastic in the spring. A little bit problematic at the moment because I am getting stripped of those worms quite quickly. I'm having to recast every half an hour. Sometimes the worms are on, sometimes they're not. But to come out, catch a mid-20 for you in the daytime. I'm probably going to fish till about 9:30. I've got an early morning tomorrow, so don't want to be out too late. I'm guessing these are going to go off in the next hour or two, because that's when the action really starts. So I hope you like the video. I hope it's given you, you know, some confidence to get out there, target cats. Don't try and target too big a fish too soon. Just come to a club lake like this, where you've got, you know, smallish fish up to about 30 pound. Get some practice playing them. You saw how much that fish ripped off line out there, even on beefy kits. So hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. The more people that subscribe, the more videos that will come. Give it the thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and please make some comments, and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. I'm hoping to get a tench video done next week. It is getting a bit late in the year, but we'll see how things go. But for now, tight lines, get out there, enjoy your fishing, and see you soon.